Thanks, Claude. Excited about these guys joining us. Another great group, very hard working staff to kind of bring this into one group, and still not over as far as guys will sign in February and all those things. I'm excited about this group. It's been one of probably the funnest to recruit. It was, kind of the half COVID recruiting class because they didn't get to come on campus, I guess, until June 1st maybe. And everybody came through. It was a wild time with everybody trying to come at the same time. And our staff did a tremendous job. Our recruiting staff did a tremendous job. Our administration helped. Our academic folks that meet with these kids and they come on visits. There was a span from June 1st to June 28th or 29th where we spent every single day here with somebody here. So that was a big part of this signing class. It started long before that, but it started before that on Zoom. It started before that in communication, talking, but physically seeing people and getting in front of them. It was certainly great to have these kids being able to come to campus like they did. Proud of the group, really feel like it's spread out the way it should be, dispersed that way. We hit some needs we needed. A lot of great stats I can read through, but you guys have all those. I mean, it's really a well-rounded class in terms of multiple sport athletes, high academic achievers, top-ranked guys, which I don't really care about what they're ranked. I care a whole lot more about how they play. And we've seen evidence of the guys that have played a big role on our team. Some of those guys were not the guys we talked about on this day during their career. And I think we know a lot about those guys, a lot more about what's inside you that matters most. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Coach, it's hard not to notice the defensive back recruiting that you guys did, both in terms of the pedigree or ranking of them, but the number of them too. Can you just talk about how you feel like you addressed that and why that was such an area of emphasis?
Yeah, we don't have enough DBs now. I mean, I don't know what you would be referring to. I don't know how many are in there. I get confused between what's in and what's not in, but we don't have enough. We're still lower than we've ever been in terms of defensive backs. So I'm not real smart about accounting, but first in, first out, how many in, how many out. We have more leaving than we have coming, and we were already below. So if you have more leaving than you have coming, then you're actually negative net gain. So we're still behind at the defensive back position, and it's a position that's been really, it's been tough for us this year because we have not been able to play dime packages. We've not been able to do some of the things we want to do, and that's 6 DBs on the field. And I am really proud of the DBs in this class that we have, but we're not anywhere near where we used to be. I mean, I think we have 7 that left since the last year. Then you throw in the seniors, those kind of core Georgia guys that have been here forever that are now finishing. When you add that 7 plus 4 or 5, that's a 1-year window of 13 to 14 guys. So in my mind, we're still kind of short numbers of scholarship players. Yeah, the recruitment of Gunner was really interesting because we've known Gunner, at least I've known Gunner since he was a small kid. His dad hosted me at a official visit in Georgia Southern many years ago, so I've known his dad for a long time. My dad was the high school coach there as Gunner was a young kid. Tremendous athlete, tremendous character. I don't know that you could raise a finer young man in today's day and age of all the, I don't know what you call it, the attention-seeking people. He's never done that, and he's stuck to his guns that he loves UGA and that he wants to be here, and certainly a major part of our signing class.
Kirby, you were just talking a lot about the quantity of defensive backs you have. What about the quality of the guys that you have signed in terms of what you liked about them, and how does Starks fit into that mix?
Yeah, I don't think you actually ever know exactly what you have. You certainly feel great about them, but to tab anybody, the next guy, the first guy to start, I think it's hard. The length and the speed is what sticks out the most. I think we've missed some size in recent years, and we like to have length. We like to have toughness. I like intelligence. I like ball skills. I think a lot of these qualities and traits show up. Your ability to play man-to-man. I think more in college football now than ever before, if you have a liability in coverage, it's easier to find it. It used to be we were all up in a little phone booth, and now we're all out here. So your mistakes or your guys that can't cover, it's almost out of control. Like they spot it on you and they get you. I think this group, number one, has speed. They have man-to-man cover ability. They're going to help us, but there's just not enough of them. And what's interesting is it used to be you couldn't find O linemen and D linemen, and I still think they're hard to find. But you see these schools, top-notch schools, all on the same DBs because there's not enough of them to go around. The premier position right now for a lot of people is to go play wide out, and we got to find some guys that can cover those guys.
Kirby leads perfectly in my question about the wideouts, the guys you've added that have signed already. Just what have you liked about those guys? And you talk about being more explosive on offense. I guess how do they sort of figure into those plans in terms of being more explosive and creating big plays in the passing game?
Well, I think it starts with speed. You got to have vertical speed down the field, and we feel like we've got some guys that can really stretch the field and do that. High character. You got to be able to learn. You got to be able to buy into the offense, the understand the splits, understand the route tree, understand all the things, the intricacies that go into playing the position. And we got a really good group there. I think each one of those guys that we've been able to bring on board brings a different attribute. Whether it's excellent speed, excellent size, quickness, toughness, all those things you look for. And in wideout is another position that when you look across the board, we're down. Like we were down all year, not just because of injury. We were just down because we had 3 or 4 leave. And now we're trying to replace all those guys and play catch up. And that's tough to do in our league. I like to have the numbers where we kind of hit quota. And if you're finding out more and more now, it's easier to leave than it is to get them. So we got to get some more guys there.
Kirby, you mentioned stars and rankings, not caring about that. On O-line recruiting, I think people around here kind of gotten accustomed to the 5 stars, blue chips, whatever. These guys this year not on there. What went into the evaluation of these guys and pursuing this group of O-linemen?
Well, I think it's like everything. You have a group, you have a class of O-linemen, and any NFL GM or scout would tell you, okay, this class is loaded with this. Last year's NFL draft class had a lot of really good corners. We had 2 corners go pretty high. We had corners go before them. It was a really big corner draft class. As you look across the country, the offensive line class now, I'm not talking about recruiting rankings like you referenced. I wouldn't refer to that because they're going to have a certain number of 5 stars and 4 stars they've got to hit. But the pool of offensive linemen probably wasn't as great as it's been in years past in terms of quality depth at that position. Now, if you go statistically, there's 100 4 stars, 25 5 stars. There may be the same number. But we're talking about on our board, we rate things completely differently than stars and things like that. We rate them where we can rate them across classes, meaning compare a guy in 3 classes ago to a guy in this class. There were probably not as many guys. I feel great about the guys we got. We got a couple guys with great size. We got a couple guys with great upside, kids that we think are going to be really good players that maybe haven't played football for a long time. But I love the core group we got, and we've got a good group here and good nucleus here on campus that we feel good about in terms of offensive line.
Kirby, these days you have 2 signing periods in 2 months. You've got units now getting NIL deals, and then you've got to get ready for the playoff in the middle. So from the face of it, it seems like a mess. Do you have any thoughts or suggestions on where it needs to be heading?
I don't have any thoughts where it needs to be heading. And, a mess would probably be your words. It's the world I live in. So it's not a mess to me. It's the world I live in. It's like, you better learn to deal with it and be on top of it. And we're all dealing with the same mess. So who handles that better is everything. And I focus on how we can do it better, not on how messy it is.
Outside of Chandler Smith's speed, what else stood out to you or about him in his recruiting process? Character.
He's a high character young man that we actually recruited a long time and had an official visit set up with. And then, he ended up committing to Florida. And after that, we kept in contact with him. I think he's got a great set of parents, military based, on time to everything. Academics important to him. He's a really fast track guy, excellent hands. And when you look at the skill positions, that's the one trait that you probably don't develop as much as a lot of other traits, which is just sheer speed.
Kirby, I wanted to ask specifically about Malachi Starks. I guess one, with his body type and athleticism, do you see him maybe as a potential star? And I guess two, nowadays, do you recruit maybe specifically to the star position versus maybe taking a safety or corner and converting him to that position, down the line?
Well, if we thought a guy could be a star, a really good star, then we would say he could also be a really good corner or safety. It's not like we recruit to the star position. I mean, certainly it is a position in and of itself. He's on the field 85%, 80% of the season, but we don't look at it that way. I look at it as you're developing two positions when you're here at any position. If you're a guard, you're developing as a center too. If you're a tackle, you might be developing as a guard or center. If you're a back, you're going to develop as a wideout that plays in space. If you're a wideout, you're going to develop as a slot. So everybody has two homes because we want to develop you where you become better and not specialize. So the star position is a guy that we've had corners that played star and we've had safeties that play star. But I think Malachi has a bright future. He's fast. Number one, he's very intelligent. He's high character, and you're going to hear me repeat that over and over because that matters way more than what reputation they're coming in with.
Kirby, how big was persistence with this class, going after guys that may not have been committed to UGA at the time and looking elsewhere, but that were y'all were still interested in and stayed involved with them all the way through?
Yeah, it's always the case. I wouldn't say this is like just this class has been persistence. It's every class. It's consistency in messaging. It's consistency in communication. It's the number one overall quality that I want to be known for in recruiting is consistency in performance, consistency in messaging, continuity, like our staff and our program. We won out a lot on that because, a lot of folks by default had things change and we didn't have a lot change. And we're able to continue developing a relationship with people even if they're committed somewhere else because you never know what's going to happen.